What is the old saying? That writing is simple. You merely sit in front of a typewriter until blood spots appear on your forehead.
Men, 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 manly men, 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 manly men, men, men. Men, 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 manly men. Men, 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 manly men, 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 manly men, men, men.
The broadcast season begins mid-September, ends at the end of May, June 1st. We, as writers, work from June 1st until mid-April.
We do a few months of pre-production where we gather together and start writing scripts.
It's basically someone brings in an idea and you throw it out there and someone says, yeah, it's a great idea, or it's a bad idea, or, you know, there's something there, what if we teamed it with this?
Scrooge, Scrooge, Scrooge. Scrooge, 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 Scrooge.
On almost every other show except Chuck Lorre's shows that I've worked on, people go off and write scripts and come back, and ultimately it's a disappointment.
Chuck has decided to spare that poor writer who goes away the heartache of having their thing ripped apart. We begin with ripping it apart. You know, we save those 2 weeks.
Chuck and Lee, the guys who created the show, are always on for everything.
At the end of it, you know, writing period, what you've got is something that he wants.
Every draft is written by 4, 5, 6 of us in the room together.
The ultimate pencil is held by Chuck.
And Chuck sits directly to my right, and I make sure that he's happy. Does Chuck need a beverage? Is Chuck upset at one of the other nameless people in the room? I don't really know what the writing process is on other shows. We try not to get to know each other as people on the outside or even learn one another's names. We try to keep it very impersonal.
Your joke about the 3 o'clock thing worked well. Mark.
As a group, we have to have the confidence to pitch even the stupidest thing.
Hey, Alan.
Yeah?
You had the Just Say No talk with Jake, right?
The good and bad of being in a room is when you pitch something, you immediately find out if anyone else thinks it's good or bad.
Dad.
Yeah?
I can't find my Game Boy.
Not now, Jake.
Putting yourself out there, you know, it's like, well, I have an idea or a joke, and you throw it out there, and everyone kind of looks at you like, okay, what's wrong with you? And you're like, what is wrong with me? Why did I say that? So you just got to kind of get over that. It's something that you throw out there may be completely ludicrous, but someone else might take it and roll with it and go, you know what? Actually, if we did this, then it might be a good idea.
There's no way I would have come up with this had you not said the stupidest thing I have ever heard. In that way, you know, we try to fail forward.
Jake?
How do you know my name?
It's okay.
Okay, I almost pooped my pants.
A little shard of an idea can be you maybe have a couple of snippets of dialogue that you think are interesting that can lead you to a story.
You do look for things that happen in your friends' lives, in your family's life, that are serious and tragic and painful to them, but can be really funny on the show.
I don't care what anybody says. I always thought you were a good guy.
Thanks, Alan. Want to know what time it is?
I mean, I feel very set apart in my philosophy, and some of them I don't think embrace it. I will come to work and I'll see the big fella. I'll see him. He's very gregarious in the hallway, very always chatting people up and friendly, and I don't know, judge him for it. I just think, well, that's his process. That's how he has to create.
Come here.
Yeah. I don't respect it, but that's what he has to do.
It is a job, and it's very serious. I think if you walked into our writer's room, you would be amazed at how dull it is. I mean, people have this image of whoopee cushions, seltzer bottles, and cigars, and actually it's very sedate. It's a group of professionals sitting around a table trying to make sense out of something that didn't exist a few minutes ago. And it's difficult and it's serious. I think my role in the room is kind of a sobering influence. My feeling is, let's get the work done. And so my whole thing is, let's not slow things down with a lot of folderol.
You think that writers can just sit there and do whatever they do, however they do it, but based on who walks in and out of that room, the writers' personalities change. Being the only woman on staff, it's really no different than being a man on the staff. The only thing really that's an issue for me is language. Language tends to be sometimes a problem for me, the language in the room.
Miserable mother white fucking son of a licking.
People have been doing situation comedy for years and years and years and years, and really the best thing you can do is find characters where it's their take on things.
Like it would have killed her to get a C-section.
Self-obsessed psychotic rant.
What? Are you listening to yourself?
Stupid question. Awkward silence.
The character Charlie, he's single, he doesn't want to be married, he's rich, he lives on the beach in Malibu. So when you have a character that basically has a perfect life in a lot of ways, it just basically, how do we screw up Charlie's life?
So I wanted to talk to you about the presentation ceremony.
Oh, we'll be there. Just tell us where and when.
Well, next Sunday, 5 o'clock. And I was hoping we could have it here.
Here?
Are you happy? Now we have to throw a party for your crazy-ass mother.
Well, she's your mother, too.
How do you know? I could have been adopted.
You wish.
I do.
Because we know Charlie has a life that is just so, this perfect little life that you drop a pebble in, and usually you get 22 minutes.
Daisy's fishing tackle and live bait?
Turn it over. Daisy's classy catering.
We think of this show, obviously, as an adult comedy. We are aired in the 9 o'clock time slot. We try very hard to take what would be what we in the business call 8 o'clock concepts. The kid has homework. He won't do it. That concept, and turn it into a story about adult brothers.
Charlie, the teacher just called and told me to come get him.
Well, I want it on the record that if the kid was running a blackjack game under the bleachers, he didn't necessarily get the idea from me.
These two guys take turns being probably the worst cornermen in the world.
Why did you flip Miss Pasternak off?
Excuse me. We don't end our sentences with prepositions. We say, why did you flip off Miss Pasternak?
I think that answers your question.
The weekly process during production, basically, is every Monday there's a table read. So everyone, the cast and the writers and CBS executives and Warner Brothers executives, they all get together and sit around a table on stage, and the actors read it.
I go to the sound stage, and there's a lot of other people, and I see some of the other, I guess, some of the other writers, and we sit, and on Monday the actors read the script.
And we get to listen to find out, like, what works, what doesn't work, and, you know, we just kind of hang out in the background and, you know, make little notes about what we got to, like, improve, or this story point doesn't work, that kind of thing.
When you see the actors read these lines for the first time, are you ever, like, really disappointed with what they do with your words? Or?
Sometimes you just can't believe, you know, you think, why don't you just, you know, take a hatchet to them? Why don't you just throw the script up in the air and blow it to smithereens? Tuesday and Wednesday we have what we call run-throughs, where basically you just go down to the stage and you watch the actors actually perform. It's like a little mini play. They're on the set. Chuck and I will decide what it is, you know, that's working, what it is that's not working. Thursday, we go down, we pre-shoot about a third to half of the show, and if something doesn't work, you run up and you try to throw in a joke, you know, right there on the spot. And Chuck and I rewrite the show while the others order food or whatever it is they do.
And then 7 o'clock Friday night, we have the audience show, and God willing, it's funny, and they laugh, and, you know, we're all happy.
Chuck and I decide what it is we need, and are we okay, and then we tape the show.
People never stop working, you know. The second we're done, the crew is coming in and they're starting to tear down the sets, get ready for Monday to, you know, so the new sets are up, you know, to start again, you know, in 2 days. It's a good reminder that, you know, you can't rest on your laurels.
The good times and the bad times are all going to be there, and so you got to be ready for that. There's certain jokes that you've been laughing at all week, like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen, and then a studio audience sees it and it's just complete silence. And if it's your joke, it's just like all of a sudden it's like 120 degrees on the stage, and you're like the sweat, and you're like, oh no, that was Mark.
I'm sure the answer you often hear as aspiring writers is just write. That's what makes writers writers. Professional writers are writers who didn't quit.
Don't make the mistake that so many people do, which is taking yourself way too seriously. Let yourself be one of the balloons floating in the air. Let yourself be one of the flowers blowing in the wind.
The best part of writing is having written. The best part is being done.
See you next year.